This is the Criterion Creeps podcast, and tonight we're talking about Hasard Balthazar from 1966, directed by Robert Bresson. This movie somehow doesn't have a tagline accompanying it.
Not at all?
No.
Just weird. No?
Yeah, I don't know. Some movies don't, RJ. Some movies don't. This seems like this is from Letterboxd. Reads like the back of the Criterion DVD to me, but you decide. A profound masterpiece from one of the most revered filmmakers in the history of cinema, Robert Bresson's Hasard Balthazar follows the donkey Balthazar as he is passed from owner to owner, some kind and some cruel, but all with motivation beyond his understanding. Balthazar, whose life parallels that of his first keeper, Marie, is truly a beast of burden, suffering the sins of humankind. But despite his powerlessness, he accepts his fate nobly. Through Bresson's unconventional approach to composition, sound, and narrative, this simple story becomes a moving parable about purity and transcendence.
What parable of purity do you represent?
My own.
Your own purity?
Yeah.
And on a scale of clean to Duncan, where do you fit on the purity?
Ooh, I'm a Duncan boy.
You're a Duncan boy?
Deep Duncan.
Like a Robert Duncan McNeil?
Rancis dunking.
Oh dear. Dear, oh dear. Not good.
Rancis ducking. That's it.
Rancis Duckin? Is that
Yep.
what we're going with now?
Yep.
Okay. It's fair.
So, Hasard Balthazar. Robert Bresson. We've talked about that director before. Remember him?
Remind me.
Well, do you remember Diary of a Country Priest?
Yes.
That's cool,
That's
right?
That's a Bresson.
Yeah, he's back in Bresson form. We haven't watched Pickpocket yet. We haven't watched A Man Escaped yet. I've seen those. I've seen Machette. I've seen L'Argent. So our introduction was Diary of a Country Priest, which is not my cup of tea.
I liked it more than you did, though.
Yeah.
So we're split on that one a little bit.
That one. Yeah. It's definitely the groundwork for his later movies, such as this one. But, so yeah, Bresson, my introduction to him really came from, I think, hearing a lot about Pickpocket and how Paul Schrader was bigly influenced by it when he was, and then a lot of the influence came into Taxi Driver.
Bigly.
Yeah. Which is like almost like the biggest.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember tracking down and watching Pickpocket and really liking it a lot. Mm-hmm. And then sometime later I watched A Man Escaped when I was kind of on a hunt for prison movies, and there's like a few actually in the Criterion Collection. That was one of them, and that movie was great. And I watched some like old ass DVD copy of L'Argent, and then I watched Machette, and then at some point here and there I watched Hasard Balthazar, the donkey picture, as I want to describe it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a movie. It's a movie about donkeys.
See here, Gabo. It's a movie about donkeys.
Yeah.
You'll never believe it. That kind of
yeah.
thing.
It's the donkey picture. Yeah. So I watched
Julian Donkey Boy.
Yeah, and I mean, skimming through my reviews for Bresson, I gave this bad boy when I watched it the first time 5 stars, and gave it a big and gave it a likey. I like this on Letterboxd.
You gave it a likey. When did you watch this originally?
5 years ago, 2016, 2015.
Like just pre-podcast?
Yeah, it would have been before the. No, after. I was totally wrong with that. March 8th, 2013.
Oh yeah, because I was gonna say it's got definitely before podcast.
Definitely before.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
But so yeah, this was a revisit for me. But yeah, it's got one of those titles that it is a foreign language title.
Oh.
And it's like Hasard Balthazar. People talk about this movie an awful lot, and it's got this donkey on it. And you're like, what's this about? And you're like, it's about the donkey. And you go, I see. I don't know if I'm going to be in the mood to watch a donkey movie. especially in the art house context. That was kind of like my thought about it before I ever saw it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's other donkey movies you could watch.
There is.
Yeah. Have you ever seen Shrek?
I have.
Not that one. I was gonna say some other stuff, but there's donkeys in other films, I believe.
Donkeys, mules. How about mules?
Yeah, mules, but mules are sterile, you know.
Yeah, I've heard. I mean,
Sterile?
I don't know if that really comes into play for all Balthazar though. His sterility.
No, he took a vow of celibacy.
Well, there's apparently like at least 14 films with donkeys in them.
At least?
There's something called Donkey Skin.
Not for me.
That's a very strange movie poster from 1970. Jacques Demy. A fairy godmother helps a princess disguise herself so she won't have to marry her father. That's not kind. With Catherine Deneuve.
With who?
Catherine Deneuve.
Oh, yeah, one of my faves.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that one doesn't sound good, though. I wouldn't watch that one. Donkey Skin?
Donkey Skin.
Mm-mm. What are some of the other
how do you like donkeys? How do you feel about them donkeys? They're pretty. They're pretty cool, right? They're pretty adorable.
Donkeys are they're very like well tempered, and they're pretty smart actually. Donkeys are actually really good. Like the few donkeys I've known in my personal life, Jarrett, which actually I'm not just being full of shit. I have known a couple. They were awesome. Donkeys are really very cool. I like them.
Very sweet, unlike
mean
ass horses.
Oh, well, horses are scary, man. Mm-hmm. Horses are scary, but donkeys. If I had to have a friend of a big animal, it would not be a horse. It would be a donkey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I like donkeys. They're cool, smart dudes, and they're very nice. They're just nice guys.
Yeah.
You know, just like a nice guy.
Kind of like Balthazar.
Yeah. Balthazar's a nice guy.
No.
Hey, don't forget the Saint. He didn't go. He didn't go to Saint to not to.
I don't know anything about that.
Oh, okay.
I don't know anything about no Balthazars.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll fill you in.
No, I'm sure you will. So this movie opens up. It is, I don't know, the countryside. It's France.
Mm-hmm.
We get a little baby donkey.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, he's feeding away. He's suckling at the teat. He's getting some milk, and he kind of gets like picked by a family. It's like, let's adopt a baby donkey.
Well, it's not even really adopt. It's just we're taking this donkey. We have to have it.
Yeah, we want this donkey for the kids, you know.
Yeah, it's like we got to have it. We got to need it. We're taking the donkey.
And that
was pretty much.
And then we get some images of like idyllic days of rolling in the hay, frolicking. Everyone's happy. Balthazar is like at his fluffiest. Oh, he's so fluffy.
He's got a little fluff.
His big tufts, and he's just like, "Oh, look! I don't know. This is pretty cool. We're like all donkeys together. Nothing could ever get worse. It'll never get worse than this. This is the best. It's all uphill from here. Potentially, but no. This is cinema, RJ. This is cinema. A story.
What's the word you just used there?
Cinema.
I'm unfamiliar with that.
It's like Balthazar the Saint.
Okay.
It's like that. Cinema. Saint Cinema.
Okay.
Satan's Cinema.
Yeah, that's a little bit more accurate.
There you go. So anyway, there's the human stuff, which is like the bulk of the movie with Balthazar interludes, and I think I speak for everyone where it's like I want more donkeys and less people.
I mean, I agree. I would prefer
in general
nothing but donkeys. I would just prefer it in a manner fitting to my standards of donkey treatment. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you. We do need more donkeys. Only donkeys, for that matter.
I was a question for you. Have you ever seen Conan the Barbarian?
Yeah, many years ago.
Did that movie ever come to mind while watching this?
No, you're gonna have to. You're gonna have to unpack.
So
that
you
for
know
me a
how
little
like
bit.
after little Arnold Schwarzenegger's kidnapped by James Earl Jones,
Yeah.
and he's enslaved or whatever,
Mhm.
and like they strap him in as becomes a little beast of burden, and you're like, you got to push this wheel, you got to grind this wheel, and then they do like a transition, and he's all like jacked because it's now it's really Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he's pushing it, and he's just going around and around in a circle. I like to think that John Milas was like, you know what? I like that. I've seen all Hasard Balthazar, but like, that donkey's just going to take it. Conan ain't no donkey. He's going to kill people, and because he knows what the audience wants to see.
So is that the
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 theme,
actual sequel to Hazard
yeah.
Balthazar?
It's the what if.
Conan?
It's what if Balthazar
I
was a
see.
barbarian. Yeah,
I think that's okay. I won't. I
You
won't
can't-
oppose.
I don't
that.
think you can question it.
Yeah, I wasn't even gonna start to try, so I'm okay with that.
Good.
Yeah.
So yeah, this movie kicks off with like a dead little girl.
Yeah. Does she dies? Right?
Yeah, she's dead.
Okay.
It's a little nebulous because you're like, oh, is she just like really sick and tired? It's like, nah, that's a dead girl, and there's just not a lot of wailing and gnashing of teeth because this is Bresson.
Bresson?
He's all about dialing things down
Hmm.
and hands. It's all about those hands. Some say.
It's kind of like the you ever see The Irishman Criterion?
If I've ever seen The Irishman from the Criterion Collection, I have not.
You ever seen the cover to that
It's got big
the
old
physical
it's got-
copy?
It's got big old hands,
So you think that's a Bresson send up or
perhaps.
okay?
But not. But yes. But not. So anyway, we get a little snippet of like, hey, these were the good times, and then the donkey changes hands, and he's put to donkey work, because he is there because animal slavery is alive and well.
Yeah.
And he's not being treated very nice. He doesn't have kids frolicking and running their hands through his fur and being cool. It's like, nuh-uh. You're getting put to work. You poor little bastard. And you're gonna march along, and you're going to travel around this cart, and you're gonna get whipped to be moseyed on. It's not a good deal.
I mean, it depends. In the history of deals, is it one of the best deals of all time, or one of the worst deals in the history of deals?
I don't know if there's a lot of consent going on. I don't know if Balthazar is able to consent. He just is. He puts up a bit of. I mean, there's sort of like some drama here. There's a scene where he's going down the road and he's speeding up. I don't know. I don't think he understands what happens if you go too fast.
Well, and that. But if he did go too fast, he would own up to his mistake, right?
Yeah. Well, so he goes too fast on this cart with his new asshole farmer owner, and the cart tips over, and this guy is pissed off. And what do stupid farmers do? They don't blame themselves for slowing the roll. They go say that's the donkey, and some people show up with pitchforks, and they're like, get him, and then the donkey runs away though.
I found it strange that he had to go mass a mob to come after the donkey.
I think I don't know what the plan. I don't know what his plan was there, but it's cool because Balthazar slips away, and he runs all the way back home to the good place.
He does. Well, he's got a good memory, Jared. He knows where things were right,
Yeah, and there he is. He's back
where he's supposed to be.
Yeah.
But the old house is a little different than it once was, Jared.
Yeah, Marie, one of the young kids hanging out. I think she was like how does it work? Because it's like the movie doesn't explain these things extremely well. You have to really pay attention to like every line. It's like it doesn't matter. They're just the people folk. They live next door, and then because like her father was the teacher. And then there was like kind of it seemed like the more well-off people with the property, and then they've since like her father and her now live in the house because they left it to them to basically, hey, yeah, look after the property. And that's where the legal issues come out about like what's going on, if someone's getting ripped off, the human doings.
No.
No.
What are the doings? The comings and goings?
He's like he's running the farm, but is he paying his fair share? Because he's allowed to keep it, but now it's like I don't know if he's actually just ripping me off here. I want to audit his books, and he's like, no, that's ridiculous. Because the father figure here, he is very prideful, and he's just like, you should just take me at my word. I would never lie, and you have no reason to doubt it, but. I don't know. There's other things going on, and like Marie has this opportunity where she's like, "Hey, the son of the guy who owns the land, he's a little sweet on you," and it's like he's willing to. I could work on him, but we should get married. And she's like, "Well, I'm not that interested," and he's like, "Whatever." And now it's like, well, now you got a lawsuit on your hands, pal.
I mean, I know what that feels like.
No.
You can't just be throwing down slander like that.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be doing that, Jarrett. Get bent.
So people in this now, they're just sick of this donkey.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. And like you think that like she's Marie and donkey are like this tight, but then all it takes is Gerard, little king shit. Shows up to like fucking beat on the donkey, and you're like, and she doesn't do anything about it. I mean, I'm not exactly sure what she could do about it. I mean, the donkey will be fine. But yeah, it's a grim tale at times.
I mean, I think she could have done something
in a more ridiculous dramatic movie, sure, but realistically,
I mean, not even all she could have, not even dramatic. She could have just popped her head out and said, "Hey, quit beating up that donkey."
She's a weak person.
But like, what about the guy who was there with her? Couldn't she have went and just been like, "Hey, someone's beating up the donkey"?
What guy?
Doesn't that old guy live there too? That older guy?
Maybe she didn't want to tell her parents about it.
Well, that guy that was in the cart with her, like driving the cart, in the scene before.
Isn't that her father?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she couldn't have just been like, "Hey, Dad, someone's beating up the donkey."
Well, then what's he going to do?
He'll pop his head out and he'll say, "Hey, leave that donkey alone."
Or I don't know if he would.
I mean, he might not.
Because then he turns around and gets rid of the donkeys, gets it off over to the local bakery, and guess what happens then? That little shit, Gerard, he gets a job working at the bakery, and now him and Balthazar are a regular duo, delivering bread. And what happens, RJ? Balthazar doesn't really like this guy, and he's not.
He's a prick,
and he's not cooperating, much to Gerard's will. And what does old Gerard do?
Something not nice.
Not nice. He ties a piece of paper around Balthazar's tail and lights it on fire. And Balthazar goes stomping around, not a fan, but he acquiesces to Gerard's will. You know what Gerard's all about? Working through the no.
Is that what you call that?
Yeah, because that approach to life definitely defines old Gerard, especially when it comes to Marie later in the movie. Yep. He's a real. He's
little
like
bit.
What's his name? He's like Bobby in Twin Peaks. He's a Stephen King villain.
Yeah, he is kind of a little bit actually, just a little bit. Yeah,
He's a bad dude.
Yeah, he is a bad dude.
Yeah, because apparently he's also a little jealous of Balthazar and how much Marie seems to like him, and they're like, yeah, they're fucking, because that's what dumb teenagers would think.
Yeah. Well, it's like, hey, this donkey's getting more attention than it should. I'm gonna be mad about it.
Why does everyone give a shit about this goddamn donkey?
I mean, to be fair, Balthazar's a pretty cool donkey. Do you know what I mean? Like, this guy's just a jealous little prick, and it's like, hey, you know what I would tell him? I'd say, listen, grow up. Because this donkey's way cooler than you are.
But then on the flip side too, it's because it's just like life. fucking people all are into this Gerard, despite him being a piece of crap.
Yeah, and people do like
the old lady at the bakery. She like do anything for him. Marie, even though she, as what's the description here? Gerard forces her to have sex with him. That's definitely a way to put that. Coerces.
That's one way. Well, I mean, that's how you work through the no, Jarrett. Semantics. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Yeah. He reminds me of another guy I know.
A bad person.
Some people would call him bad.
A bad dude.
Potentially.
Okay.
Potentially. I don't want to. I won't say anything in particular, but it could be a bad dude.
Mm-hmm.
Could be.
Well, soon enough, after even this coerced sex, where he won't leave the car, Marie's kind of like, yeah, I like this. I like this guy. I like this Gerard. He's a bad boy.
That's 2 Criterions in a row that are promoting. When they say no, make them say yes.
Yeah.
Not 2 weeks. That was 2 weeks ago. Crazed Fruit.
Yeah.
So almost 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
Criterion.
But last week was also in La Notte Bianchi. That was also about like kind of like jerk off guys that ladies are like can't give up. It's like it's like these men who make these movies have a chip on their shoulder about this topic.
Who do you think the real neckbeard incel was? Was it John Criterion or was it Gary Collection?
Well, it's always John Criterion.
I know. I mean, I know he's the one like really in charge, but like, I feel like Gary Collection has more pull than we think. Even though he's not involved, I think he did something. Yeah. You know what I mean?
He's an unquestioning consumer, though. He'll take whatever he gets. He doesn't even know. He doesn't even know what it is.
I mean, I guess. So what happened to John Criterion? Why is he so sad?
He's angry.
But why?
I don't know. So anyway, Balthazar. What else do we have happening with this donkey? This great donkey. Gerard's he's being a dink, and not only because you know what happens when you're a dink, you get questioned by the police about a murder.
Just one though.
There's a murder, and then there's this like alcoholic guy who named Arnold.
Yeah, he's like the town drunk.
Yeah, he's living the gimmick. He's got like the trench coat with no shirt underneath look.
Yeah,
bare feet look. That's accurate. But he's got kind of like a what's his deal?
What's his deal?
Yeah, what does he do for a living?
I think he just gets drunk.
He has like sort of like a hustle because he requires multiple mules. I don't think it's just to haul his booze around, but he's got kind of a job. Yeah. So he soon winds up with the donkey too.
He gets him for a brief period.
Yeah.
And what is it? He's either celebrating something or not, and
he likes to break chairs over donkeys.
He does. Yep. And he was is he also the guy who goes to the bar and just starts knocking everything off all over the place for no reason?
That is Gerard.
That's the kid.
And that's when he starts freaking out because Arnold becomes a millionaire, and he all the drinks are on him, and Gerard's pissed because Marie doesn't want anything more to do with him, and he starts destroying this bar, and everyone just keeps dancing.
Yep. Yeah, he's pissed off. I thought the older drunk guy was there too for some reason.
But he gets super soused, and then he gets put on the donkey and sent on his way, and then he just falls off and like cracks his head open and dies. It's pretty good.
Story as old as time, man.
Yeah, he got everything he wanted, and he got a little. Does he have respected people? I don't know. He's still a drunk, and then I guess he died by falling off that donkey.
I kind of think that should. I'd like to go that way too.
Yeah,
but a donkey that I loved. and cared for, but then also fell off and died.
No. Oh, yeah. There's also Balthazar gets quite sick because they leave him in the rain.
Yeah, well, you can't leave him. It's like in Flowers of St. Francis when they push the donkey out of the thing, and the guy's like, "Hey, that donkey needs to be in here. He can't be out in the rain."
Mm-hmm. And he gets all wet, and I think there's like, I think it's like, maybe it's like Marie and Arnold, or no, Marie and Gerard,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, "Oh, he's shivering from our makeout sesh," and then he's like really sick, and they're like, "Well, I think he's almost dead," and I think Arnold takes him. That's what happens. Arnold takes him off his hands, and then there's even more shittiness because he takes Arnold. Oh yeah, Balthazar. Becomes a tour donkey.
He does. He goes with the circus for a while.
Yeah, that's what Arnold's doing. He's running a tour guide service, and then Balthazar escapes and joins the circus. You're like, oh man, is this gonna be a circus movie now? No.
For like a minute.
Everyone seems pretty cool there, but there's also like a real sadness, like that of course like permeates this entire movie. But like because you see this like tiger in the cage and animals in cages, and Balthazar's just like, oh. But everyone's like, the circus seems pretty cool. They all seem like they're very nice to the animal, to Balthazar, nicer than everyone else has been.
They get him to do some math tricks.
Yeah, that's pretty low key.
They recognize his intelligence.
Yes, they make him. Yeah, they do some mathing.
They do a little math.
Yeah.
Little math.
And then of course, Balthazar sees Arnold, who shows up soused and freaks out, and then the circus fires him, and he goes back with Arnold, and that's when he like goes back home, and I think Gerard and the boys, they show up. They're always looking through windows. Those boys, they're like trying to say, "Hey, the cops are here to bust you. Here's a gun." And
then what happens?
The gun. Well, he pulls the trigger on the cop, but it's empty. And then but nothing happens from that other than, "Oh, hey, we're just here to tell you that your uncle died and you inherited a fortune." And then he's dead.
Well, hey, that's just the way it goes sometimes. A lot of people die. And
then Balthazar is seized and put into police custody for a little bit. He gets some hay. He's being treated all right. And then a miller buys him and is also shitty to him, using him to pump water and stuff like that. And then it turns out that Marie is like also like hanging out at this place and banging this guy.
Just a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, I mean, what else are you going to do, Jarrett?
Yeah. And then you get like the fill-in stuff with like whatever with her father and like the boy from earlier, Jacques. That's neither here nor there though.
I mean, that goes by pretty fast.
Yeah.
Some of those side things I didn't even register very much because it was like, it's gonna pass in a minute.
Yeah, but it sounds like she's like, "Man, Jacques, you're a way cooler dude than that Gerard guy." As she looks at the camera, at the director,
and then goes,
and there's a gross story about that. I'll tell you.
Oh, gross.
Oh yeah. Oh, directors.
Yeah. Oh. It's almost like people making movies and people liking movies are all in this certain kind of camp.
Takes a certain kind.
That's why I've long held I don't like any movies.
And then you don't want to be a creative person who makes these things. But that's maybe why you don't have that killer's edge.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah.
And the YouTube commenters will say that as well.
Yeah.
Just, I gotta stick to the Back to the Futures. It's the only thing that works.
So yeah, so she goes to the barn to go meet Gerard and him and the gang. They pay her a visit. They strip her, beat her, and shove her in a room. And that's the cover of the poster, I think, for the French poster of a woman cowering in the corner, naked.
Which I find strange because it's like, why isn't Balthazar on the poster?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? He's the star of this movie.
What I wanted was, where's Balthazar?
Yeah. Where's the donkey?
Yeah. So anyway, her father and Jacques find her. They get her, and they move on. I don't know. Jacques goes to visit her, to visit Marie. He's told she's gone and will never come back. And then Marie's father dies, and then the gang shows up. The boys, they want to borrow Balthazar.
Just for a second, just for some kind of eulogy or something like that.
Yeah, well, yeah, because at this point it's also he's a saint. He's Saint Balthazar, and he's got he's got the little church thingy-majig for the funeral. That's cool. Yep. That's good work if you can get it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm trying to get that right now.
But from being saint to being a mule, a drug mule, but for contraband.
I mean, it's like from being a podcaster to being a person, or being a person to being a podcaster. Yeah. Well, is there a difference, Jared?
These fucks, they're like shoving that goddamn Balthazar up the hill. Who just he don't got it in him no more. He's had a hard go.
Yeah, he's an old guy. He's been worked hard,
getting pushed up the top of this hill. Gunshots start ringing out across this like mountainous countryside, and the little shits abandon Balthazar, who just is like, oh, I'm just hanging out here. And then suddenly he's startled by the loudness of a sound, and he keeps on moving along. And then we find out he's been shot. He's been hit by a bullet, and he finds a nice little opening, a nice little meadow where a sheep herder comes by with a bunch of sheep, and Balthazar lays down and finally rests. RJ.
My question for you, Jared, is when do you and me get to lie down and rest?
Whenever. I guess, unlike Balthazar, we get to call our own shot.
I don't know that we do.
We can end it anytime we want on our own terms.
There's a lot of commenters that would suggest different here.
Yeah, they're going to send people. They're going to send the goons.
Yeah. Goons? Hired goons? I didn't order any hired goons. Those types?
Those types.
Okay, I was just curious. So yeah, he dies.
He dies peacefully, gunshot, but kind of on his own in nature. It's better than what the miller says. Like, I'll take care of him when the rains come. And you're like, oh, like
what does that mean?
Yeah, what does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
very strange.
So would you consider this this type of movie like an emotional experience or an intellectual one, somewhere in between? How did this movie react for you? Because I like this movie a great deal. I really upon rewatching it, even I was just like, man, it's so well made. And this movie on paper, story wise, should not work for me in a lot of ways because of these metaphorical and I don't know, things, like these considerations that people talk about. And I'm like, I don't think you can watch this without those things mattering. I mean, it's pretty clear story. I feel like Rob Bresson's on Balthazar's side.
Yeah,
like that, which I think for 1966 is like a pretty progressive position to be in, because I feel like this movie is far more like in place with like people's values when it comes to livestock. Sure. And like the treatment of animals and like considering them as beings than his contemporaries, I suppose. Do you want to hear what Ingmar Bergman had to say about this movie?
Who, Berg?
Bergman.
Yeah, well, I'll hear what Berg has to say.
All right, let's see here. I gotta find it here. Reception. Ingmar Bergman said of the movie, quote, "This Balthazar, I didn't understand a word of it. It was so completely boring. A donkey, to me, is completely uninteresting, but a human being is always interesting."
You know, you had me for a second there, Berg, but No, I disagree completely. I think donkeys are a lot more interesting than people are. So I think old Ingmar Pervman is wrong on that one.
Yep. He is into humans.
Humans, yeah, I think he's a little off on that one.
Mhm.
No good.
No good.
No good. Yeah.
While on the other hand, Jean-Luc Godard said, quote, "Everyone who sees this film will be absolutely astonished because this film is really the world in an hour and a half."
Which world?
The world. Godard married Anna Wyzemski, who played Marie in the film in 1967.
Godard did?
Yep.
What about Bresson?
Well, Bresson, he made his moves on her when the film was being made.
And how did that go? Did
Well,
it not work?
on location, they stayed in adjoining rooms, and Wyazminski said that at first he would content himself by holding my arm or stroking my cheek, but then came the disagreeable moment when he would try to kiss me. I would push him away, and he wouldn't insist, but he looked so unhappy that I always felt guilty. Later, Wyazemski lost her virginity to a member of the film's crew, which she says gave her the courage to reject Bresson as a lover.
Why was that documented?
This was from her novel, or she wrote a novel called June Filet, and she. Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was part of the essay for Criterion. I was going to say, why is this documented? Why are people talking about this? I'm very confused, Jared.
Very confused.
Okay, so Bresson tried.
He made his play. So what? Okay, so there's people who say, why is he trying to make out with a 14-year-old? It's like, well, the movie came out in 1966, so she was 20, 19, 20.
Okay.
What?
And how old was he at the time?
Oh, I mean, he was probably 60 or something like that. I mean, he was an old man. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. No, fuck. He was 65.
Oh yeah. Well, that's a bit much.
And that's like born in 1901, 65 years old. He lived to goddamn 99 or 98 years of age.
Yeah, that's no good.
No.
Well, I mean, it's good that he was alive, but that's a bit of an age gap there.
You know, it's
A bit.
Life's life. You know, life's life.
Uh,
And he looks sad.
Are you going? It's a living.
It's a living. Anyway, I thought I should throw that one out there. I saw some letterbox comment like talking about how she was 14 years old, and unless something weird with the production made it so that it was like from 3 years earlier, but I'm not seeing it. So that's interneting. But anyway, so I think this movie kind of hits this sweet spot of the type of movie that simply doesn't get made that frequently. And I think, I don't know, there's a lot of stuff that is kind of like this now, like Bellatar type of movies, slow cinema, even though this is only like 90 minutes long, but it's like this very honed in on a topic that I could only kind of group a movie like Nausicaa, Valley of the Wind, about a character who's like, you have a protagonist that's just like a good person or a good creature or good, like it's just like good,
A good thing,
and just dealing with like a shitty world around it and just living on those terms, and bad things happen, and everything's sort of incidental and everything's complicated, everyone's flawed, but then you have one kind of representation of like of a good thing in that, and I think that's a very powerful thing. And it's like kind of I think that's why something like Paddington was very successful. That movie's very like checks a lot of boxes in terms of like mainstream success, in terms of like it's still like a totally like Hollywoodish kind of movie, even though it's English, I guess, but it's got Nicole Kidman in it, so it's not like some little indie movie. And it's got a CGI bear. Yes, yeah, it's not too English. It's plenty erotic.
Marmalade's it's an aphrodisiac, I believe.
Yeah, it's sticky.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's like, so these types of movies, like a Babe, look, animals. It's all animals. They're better than Peeps.
They sure are.
But
They sure
but
are.
you can also have like really great characters as people. But maybe for some that's more it's unrealistic. And depending on your
Hmm.
view, perhaps of animals, you may or may not get a lot out of this, or it might be too much,
Hmm.
or it make you ask some questions or whatever. But I don't know. I could talk about this movie a lot more. But I'm
Sure.
curious what you think about the movie, because yeah, I am genuinely curious what your reaction to this movie was.
Genuine. Uh,
Genuinely. Often I
before
ask, "Hey RJ, what do you think of this movie?" I'm like, I already know the
you don't
answer,
care. Yeah.
or I don't know the answer, or I already know the answer, but I am
Yeah.
curious what you think of this.
Yeah. Before I even start, when you were talking about these movies that don't get made, you should have watched that A24 flick, First Cow, this week. I haven't seen that, but
Ooh,
I feel like
that's a good call because
I feel like that should have been watched this week. We both could have watched it. And we
yeah, that
didn't.
would have been pretty good timing. But I mean, I could watch First Cow anytime, and yeah,
Yeah. We can watch it
I
next
feel
week.
like there would be some crossover, and I think First Cow is just going to probably like be a lot of an easier watch now because it's like
Yeah.
it's so contemporary. It'll feel like a movie of our times rather than sometimes when you go back and watch a movie from 1966, it feels dated. I think
Yeah.
from that. So I think maybe First Cow, maybe, and this is a movie I've never seen. Maybe
Yeah,
it would slot in, but I think these are very different movies though too.
Probably. I just thinking when hearing you talk about movies in this similar vein, I didn't even think of First Cow until I heard you
I was
talking 2
describing
minutes
this.
ago, and I was just like, oh, we should have watched First Cow this week,
Yeah, no.
for better or worse.
A friend of mine who is also Team Balthazar. I think they like they like Mouchette more. I think, but yeah, they loved First Cow a great
Okay.
deal and really also love Balthazar. They kind of do their own work, very similar to this type of like minimal, like almost non-storytelling, where it's just
Yeah.
like kind of incidental plot, and it's just kind of more about the feeling of it. And I think that's a really hard thing to pull off in a movie potentially. And you're going to alienate a whole bunch of people who just hate that type of thing and they don't want it, and so it's just going to turn them off flat. But I don't know. This is the type of movie that, like, yeah, people might think that I would not be a fan of this at all. But on the flip side, I think this really is like one of those like great pieces of cinema. Even though it's like difficult to talk about because there's no like, oh man, and that one scene, and, like there's no like scene in this movie where like, oh, it really drives this home. It's all just like every time like when I see Balthazar like hiding in the woods. In like, like it's so good. I don't know. I'm like, oh, where's Balthazar? What's Balthazar doing?
You care about him,
Yeah.
and the scenes he's not in, you go, what is
Hey,
this?
as a kid, I was a big fan of The Bear.
The Bear,
Yeah, have you ever seen The Bear?
like the animated one. The
No,
Bear.
live action.
The Bear.
The Bear.
I feel like it sounds familiar. So if I saw a little bit of it, maybe I would remember it, but not offhand.
Okay.
Not like.
I've been wanting to watch that movie again for a really long time because I remember like being like because it's what's his name Jean-Jacques Anand directed it.
I see.
And it's
I have not seen this.
but it's yeah, he did a Quest for Fire, the caveman movie, the name of the Rose film adaptation, and then he made like Two Brothers, which is about lion cubs. So it's like The Bear 2.0. A movie called Wolf Totem. That's got a big old wolf. But yeah, The Bear. He's an orphan at the start of a journey to survive. An orphan bear cub hooks up with an adult male as they try to dodge human hunters. And it's like mostly silent. Like it's just animals just doing stuff. And then humans kind of show up every once in a while.
That's with Bart the Bear.
Yeah.
He's got his own letterbox page. He's got
does.
17 films. I've seen 6 of them.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a similar birthday to mine. He's just a couple days off from me.
Wow. Animal lover.
Me and Bart the Bear. No, I haven't seen The Bear, but I do have it in my watch list. Although real live action animal movies make me a little bit uneasy sometimes. So that's like the Homeward Bound thing. I remember liking that movie as a kid, but I think that would give me absolute fucking anxiety and nightmares to watch that now, and just not a good thing. But that's a whole different kettle of fish.
Mm-hmm.
Whole different kettle of fish. So, Hasard Balthazar This is this film that we watched this week, Jarrett.
Yep.
So I was watching this.
Which title translates to Balthazar at random.
Which. Yes. So I didn't actually know anything about this until last week when you hit me with, "Oh, we're watching a movie about a donkey," and then I went, "Oh, what does that mean?"
Oh, no.
So I actually didn't know anything about this, and I was watching opinions.
What was that? Say that again.
Oh, I said, so that was all I knew about it, and then I threw this on, and I was watching it, and as I was watching, I had some opinions and some ideas as things were going on, and then I had some thoughts and maybe some other word to describe thinking, and then listening to you describe it, I do think was also gave me a few things to think about. So I like that you lead sometimes because it can not that I would ever compliment you, but sometimes your perspective on things is different from mine. And it's the best way to learn about something, Jarrett, is to consider alternative perspectives. So when you were talking about this film being like Balthazar, this pillar of just like good, and not even like outward good or like optimism or anything like that, but just like he's a good man. And I'll say that about Balthazar. He is a good man as a donkey. He's trying his best in this hard world, and the world is hard. And I think that this film, like what you were saying too, what they're trying to do with it is a unique thing. And I think it is like what Godard said. He's like, this is the world. It is. This is how people treat each other.
Yep.
This is how people treat animals. This is how people treat everyone, basically, or not everyone, but this is how a lot of people in the world operate with animals, other people, just things in general.
This movie is very non-online because it doesn't depict people in the way that people think that people will act. It's like, no, this is like observed reality where like, yeah, people make bad decisions constantly, and like they're not going to invest in like, it doesn't feel like when he talks about the title being like at random, it's about like, I don't know, you're getting these snippets of people unobserved, even though it is a film and it's constructed, but it feels like, yeah, these guys don't care if like their pride does it. There's no payoff to it. It's just like, yeah, no, then that guy's dead and like poor for it. And then there's like reconciliations like years later. And at the same time, you have this like through line of like Balthazar's like, that donkey's going to donkey, and things, there's ups and downs. And it's just, Balthazar comes into the game like literally, you know, being up. I don't think you actually see him born, but he's already a little fluffy little guy at the beginning, and he comes out, and that's it. And zero-sum game didn't make the world worse, didn't make it better, just was. And yeah.
And what you're saying is sometimes that's the best you can hope for.
That's kind of the baseline, I guess. Yeah. For most of us, the vast majority of us, that's pretty well it.
Yeah, I think I know what you mean.
Be like Balthazar.
I agree.
And you can maybe even do a little bit better because you're not just a donkey.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I think you should be like Balthazar and be better. But no, yeah, I do know what you mean. It does appeal to that, and I do think it is realistic in the sense, or it's not even realistic. It's real that it's like, this is how people just kind of operate. And this is what a lot of interaction is with people. And even just the shitty dude, there are dudes that are just shitty. They just suck. And you're like, yeah, that's a bad guy. And there's no saving that person. So I get all that stuff. And I like, it's very similar to what my worldview of people is anyways. 'Cause I generally think that the world is pretty bad and people are pretty bad. Just look at how they treat each other and animals. So I do like that this movie is I do think it's trying to say something in that, right? Where it's just like, it's like, this is what we are like. And it's like, it's like, take a look at yourself, because it's like, I think the one issue though is like the people who are aware of that and can identify that, they're not the ones that are like that anyways. And then the people who are like that, they're going to watch this and go, oh, this is a boring movie. It's about a donkey, like Ingmar Bergman. apparently. I'm not saying that he was a bad dude, but if that's all you take from it, you're kind of just like, okay.
I think that's some real smooth brain action from old Bergman right there.
Bergman. Yeah, it's like that's a little bit superficial. But I think with that, like I get all that stuff. I like that. But for me, one of the biggest things is I fundamentally don't or disagree with showcasing animal like violent stuff as a point to like talk like to say that it's bad kind of. And I know that that's kind of weird where it's like it's a weird kind of catch-22, right? Like they're showing that like people beating him up and it's just like that's not good, and then like it'll make you feel bad. But it's kind of like what I was saying, it's like if you're one of those people who doesn't like that, you're already not going to like that. Whereas if you're a person who's like, I don't care, I'm going to beat the fuck out of a donkey, you're probably not watching this movie, number one, to begin with. But number two, it's like you might not feel bad about that. So all those scenes, and it's like I do realize too, like I don't think that these guys actually beat the fuck out of this donkey.
No, like when I said
like
Buddy, when Buddy likes to break chairs over the donkey, it happens off camera and you hear sounds of it, and then the donkeys come running out of the room after. Yeah, you don't see that. And I think like other than like probably like what would happen with like the animals, which is like smacking them on the rear end to like get them to move. That's like kind of like
it's standard fare.
That's standard fare. It's like kind of like that's kind of what happens in like when you're like animal and human experiences. Like they're large animals, and it's like I don't think they feel it quite like the way you think. Like, oh my god, you're hitting it across the ass.
Yeah,
it's kind of I don't know. I'm not an animal. I can't ask, but. Yeah, it seems like
and
that,
like see like that too. I know that because being from farm background, it's like I know about like there's a little bit more give and take in that kind of sense. But I'm more talking about like there's that one scene where they're like kicking and punching them, and it's like I don't think they were full on punching this donkey.
No,
but it's like that. But still, I don't like seeing shit like that either, because it's like I feel bad for the donkey. Like even if he's not getting kicked, he's like I bet he was probably fucking scared. But then the one scene too where lighting the tail on fire, it's like that one's pretty bad, and it's like I think they just put like a smoke thing on there, and it wasn't actually on fire. But even so, like my point I guess was I find it really difficult to navigate and to like try to mediate this little thing in here where it's like if you're against this kind of treatment of animals, so you show it to show that it's bad, but then it's like but you're replicating it, and that's like also not good. And I don't have an answer to this kind of stuff. I'm just saying it's like those are the things that I think about. It's like I don't know the right way to do this, how to best show this and get your message across. So I don't know what's right or wrong, but I do know that watching this movie made me very uncomfortable. Them actually hurting this donkey, because like a lot of Criterion movies, they are actually like just fucking hurting those, killing those, chopping up horse on fire,
chopping those snakes up,
or Andrei Rublev pushing a horse down some stairs or something, and it's just like well, that's really happening. So I get high anxiety now, and I always have, but like especially the more older I get, the worse anxiety I get about these things. Just watching it, it's like it makes for a bad viewing experience for me, because it's all I think about. It's like I just don't want anything to happen to this donkey, and it distracts me the whole time. And I know that's my own personal kind of gripe, or not even gripe, but that's my own personal hang up with this stuff, and whatever. I'm very conflicted in that sense. So like for this movie, like the way you were describing it and stuff, it's like, yeah, that totally makes sense. For like how you're describing it makes total sense to me. And I do think that it's very similar to my kind of opinions on things as well. But like I said, I get hung up on that stuff, and like I know that, I'm aware of that, but it's hard for me to kind of separate the two things. So when I finished this, I was like, I don't really know. I was like, I know what they were trying to do, and I like that, but then I also I also don't like it because I just don't like those things that they're also doing and the things that they're trying to represent and even talk against. It's like I also don't. It's what I mean. I don't know where the middle ground is on this, so I'm a little bit conflicted on that end. But it's an interesting movie. It definitely makes you think about stuff. I'm glad you really liked it. I don't like. I don't know where I fall on this one. I'm somewhere in this weird middle gray area between like liking the message it has, but then also not liking not even how it's presented, but just like the nature of these things in general, I guess. And in terms of like the Catholic imagery, or like not even Catholic, but the religious imagery, that didn't even register with me that much. Where I was like, I get where you could make that that poll for those kinds of things, but I didn't even really think about that too much. So I'm sure there's something there. I'm sure a lot of people have written essays about this shit, but I don't know. So anyways, that's my weird ambiguous answer where it's like I don't know where I land with this one. You know?
Well, maybe like in a review of Walkabout, people will comment for years and years about it.
Well, and the Walkabout ones is so stupid too. It's like, they really ate the animals, and it's like, yeah, but they wouldn't have been doing that if it wasn't for a movie. It's just it's this weird thing where, yeah, I don't understand people. Like, I really don't, Jarrett. Stupid Walkabout. Fuck that movie.
Comics writer Joshua Dysart, he 5-starred this on Letterboxd. I like his review though. I've seen this film 5 times. Each time I weep like a child at the end. Each time, no exaggeration. Never date anyone who does not weep at the end of this film. They possess no spirit and they will never get into heaven. Signed, an atheist.
Is that good? Or is that bad?
They liked it.
I mean, yeah, well, I mean, the atheism or religious thing, either way, it's like I said, like I didn't actually register that much of it, so I don't know. I don't have an opinion on it at all. Other than I did like how angelic he was when he had his crown of flowers.
Mm-hmm.
Balthazar, I was like, yeah, that's very saintly, and I like this. I like it a lot. Yeah.
So you're saying this movie should have a trigger warning on it, RJ?
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I guess going into it, I think you should know. But I think within the first 10 minutes, you'll figure it out anyways.
Yeah, usually it's like, hey, everything's going great. You're like, oh. Let's see what people who hate this movie have to say. Because there's a lot of half stars on this movie. Way more than any movie we've watched in a very long time. People have very strong reactions to this. And not for, like, even anything you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's like a... let's see here. I pulled up a few different ones. Reviews. I think some of these... One made me laugh out loud, but I think the first one here is 0.5 star from Soviet Fangirl.
Okay.
I would rate this lower if I could. This hashtag artsy vapid nonsense would only be dignified if suffused on another mistreated donkey's excrement. I hate you guys so much for calling this flick that should be used in a MK Ultra Echo torture chamber for the developmentally delayed hashtag revered cinema.
Soviet Fangirl 5-star Fight Club.
There you go.
And not much else.
Oh, yeah.
Not much else. But they half-starred Annie Hall in Manhattan.
Yeah,
so
of course they did.
And almost all of Woody here. Yeah, anyways.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Yeah, we got some comments here. There's like, the donkey was the best actor in the movie. Fucking tasteless. What a terrible movie. Please, God, hear my prayer. I sure hope that they didn't actually kill that poor animal for this film. It's not worth it. It's like, no, they didn't. It was clearly breathing.
Yeah.
I could see it just sleeping.
I mean, I agree with the sentiment, but yeah, like even I didn't think that they did. I think he just lied down.
Someone please explain to me why a man in his 60s decided to go after a teenager. It won't be the first time, guy.
I mean, no, that happens quite a bit.
It happens. I don't know if I'm saying it's good or bad, but
let's see what Gabriella is into. Life is like foam, so give yourself away like the sea. Okay. Favorite films include Heat, Happy Together, Perfect Blue, and Lahain, a future creep.
The one that made me laugh, though, RJ, I think it's second from the bottom. Okay. Madka Townhouse. Gotcha. How half a Balthazar.
That's pretty good.
It's pretty good. I disagree strongly, but it's pretty good.
I also like in their little description here, it says, you don't need that spine. It holds your back. Is that, I don't know what that means, but
on the next page we got Momster, nothing like a piece of shit made by pieces of shit. Animal torture, women getting abused in all manner of ways, nonsensical characters and character actions all wrapped up in a miserable, horrible quote, quote, quote story. I absolutely hated this movie. This came to my viewing list because Roger Ebert called it one of the great movies. I've since learned that there are many film critics who stand with him. Yes, it is creatively done. Yes, the cinematography pulls me into the story. Yes, I believe the performances. Yes, I understand the symbolism. I love when people describe things as creative.
Creative.
That's nothing makes you sound more like a parent.
Is this still Momster?
This is Jim Dooley.
Oh, I was on Momster's page.
The fact remains that I cannot think of a movie that has depressed me more. It is relentless in its cruelty. Yes, I understand that is the point. And with the exception of Marie's mother and the returned boyfriend, I detested every human character I encountered. Because it is considered by so many to be a cinematic masterwork, I stayed with it, hoping to discover even a brief moment of redemption. It wasn't there for me. Societal violence and animal cruelty in abundance are all that I took away from this movie. The story was horrible. Yes, it fully engaged me, and I wish to heaven that I'd never seen it. It was an assault on my emotions. Good Lord, I pray that I don't dream about it tonight. Jesus.
Good stuff.
Good Lord, I pray that I don't dream about it tonight. I need to put that in like every one of these fucking shitty movies that we have to watch. I dream. I pray that I don't dream about it tonight.
That's a lot from someone who's one of their favorite movies is Showa.
Jesus, wow, there you go. I guess that one's like, well, we won at the war.
I mean, yeah, this is
there's
bread and
people,
butter stuff.
There's some people that like real. I mean, so you know who loves this movie? Michael Haneke, and of course he does. This is totally his wheelhouse, and like extreme positions on this. I think overall it's like it's not even that divisive. Like it's still, what are we at here? Like a 4.0 with like majority is 5 stars or 4 stars, and then like very few half. But like it's compared to like every movie that we've watched in the last 6 months, I think this has got the most number of half stars I've seen of a movie that is like pretty well regarded. But man, people when they don't like it, they fucking hate it. But it's almost like they hate it because it worked. And they don't like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Because I even like, yeah, like there's something that just like they cannot, like for you it sounds like there's just like a fundamental core element of the film that you can't get beyond.
For me,
and that's just what it is, and you're just like, yeah, so it is what it is.
For me, yes, but I'm also not like I'm not taking it to the extreme that these people are. Like I don't think it's a half-star film by any right. So. It's like I said, I had my own personal issues with that, but that's just me, man. Mm-hmm. That's just like my opinion, man.
Well, do you pray you don't dream of it tonight?
No, I don't think I'm going to think about it at all.
Yeah.
And good. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, then it'll be another movie you'll watch, and then you won't dream about that one either.
Nope.
Like
I don't think.
like any movie.
I don't even know what we watched last week or the week before. I don't give a shit anymore. It's in one day and out the other. You know what I mean?
Can't wait for next week.
Yep. And see, next week I won't even remember what we did this week.
What
It's just that easy.
What are we doing? What is this? What's this all about? What's this microphone?
Am I even awake right now? Am I doing something? What is this?
After the break, smuggling didn't work out. Neither did podcasting, and now we're shot. We're gonna go find a nice little meadow and die. Maybe some nice, younger, enthusiastic podcasters will come and soothe us as we die, as they talk about true crime. And, and I don't know, CEDH.
Is this a true crime podcast?